welcome back to Cottoning On with me, Lorna. In this episode of the podcast, it's been a while, so I thought I would update you on my whips and things that I have started. Spoiler, I haven't finished everything I showed last time, but I have started some new things. So let's have a look at what I've been making. I've also got a knit along coming up as well in March, so I'll share more about that when I get to those projects. So it's been quite a while since the last podcast. I would say it's probably been 6 weeks maybe, and I have some finished items. So I can't remember if I had finished the lobster socks last time, but I finished those, and I'll put a photograph of those in because I don't actually have those, they weren't for me. But I have two finished items that I made for myself. The first one is this Musselburgh hat. This is a pattern by Isolde Teague, and you can see I did the fold up brim. It's got a bit of slouch here as well. The yarn is by Truly Hooked, and I think the colour was called Cafe Del Mar. So this used the entire skein of sock yarn, so that was good. I had no scraps whatsoever. It was a fairly enjoyable knit. It was quite good for on the go, just kind of mindless, lots of just knitting around and round and round. From the brim, because it's doubled over, from these decreases, sorry, the increases here down to the decreases that are tucked in. It was just straight knitting, so it was really easy to put that on some short circular, I think they were on 16-inch circular needles, so it was really easy to just knit round and round. Got lots of practice of knitting without looking at my knitting, which was really good, so I did loads of that. I'm really pleased with it. It is really warm over my ears. I like the fact, I don't like hats that are, I don't know if I can do it. I don't like hats that are like this, that are dead flat to your head. I prefer to have a bit of excess in the viewfinder. To have a bit of slouch at the back, but still have that warmth. I actually was going to knit a large size because that's where my head circumference would be, into the large size, but this is only a medium. You can see that it is kind of stretching out a little bit here, but I would say while I'm wearing it, it doesn't feel tight. It's not really tight to my head. So you might just want to consider that when you're picking your size, that you might not necessarily need to go, if you're on the borderline, you might be able to size down, because obviously knitting is elastic anyway, so that's what I bore in mind. I am going to make another one of these actually for my partner, but to challenge myself, I am going to try and knit it completely continental. So I did start this earlier, and I used a different cast on. For this one I did like disappearing loop cast on knitwise, and for this one I've done it crochet. I've literally just started it today, and I probably could have done about 3 times as much if I'd knit it English style, which is my usual method. But I want to practice my continental, so you know, using my left hand for the yarn, to help me get better at stranded colour work. So I'm really pleased with this one. I've got my next one started, so let's move on to my next completed project, my last completed project. And this is also what I am wearing. Now, full disclaimer, I wouldn't normally wear it with a t-shirt like this. This I think is designed to go with the dress. But to be honest, I'm not sure whether I'm ever going to wear this. This is the Be Thankful cardigan by Lily Kate Makes. And the pattern was great. It was really clearly written. It wasn't too difficult. I did try some new things. I did slip stitch ribbon that I'd never done before. I used a 3-needle cast off that I'd never done before. I've knit balloon sleeves. I've done one row buttonhole. So there were lots of things that I did in this pattern that I have never done before. This has been lurking, I suppose, since last March. I think I started it about this time last year, and I did 30 minutes. I aim to do 30 minutes a day every day in January. 30 minutes 30 days in January to get this finished, which I did, but I don't think I like it. It is knitted in this speckled yarn, which was Sirdar. It's a Aran weight, and I think it just feels, I suppose I'm used to knitting things sock weight, but it just feels like it's very kind of, the fabric's very open. I did go down a needle size on the sleeves, but you can see they are balloon sleeves, but there's so much excess. The armhole has come really low, and then you can see it finishes on the waist, but again it is oversized, but it just feels it feels very oversized for my taste. So I think really that I could have done with going down a size. Now that I understand more about ease in knitting patterns, I think that I could have gone down. I probably wouldn't use acrylic weight yarn for something like this again, because you can't block out any imperfections with acrylic weight. So that's something else that I need to consider. But I think it is just the sizing of it that actually there's not, for me, there's not enough shaping. I know it's got a drop shoulder and everything, but it just feels, there's all this that kind of comes over the cuff, and for me it's too much. But it's not completely not a criticism of the pattern at all. I just think I should have looked at some photos a bit more. I should have done more homework before I started it. So those are my two finished knitting projects. This one and this one were both in the Whip Parade. My final finished project for today is this, which was not in the Whip Parade. It is a crochet yarn cozy. This pattern is by Knitty Natty, and it's too small. So I think that with making this blanket and my granny stripe, I think actually my crochet gauge has tightened over time. The bottom didn't quite measure what the pattern was meant to measure it when I got to that point. And then I think the I-cord cast off that I've done around the brim here was just that little bit too tight. So if part of me is wondering whether I go back and undo the I-cord cast off, because I feel like the cozy itself would stretch around a cake, but maybe it's that top bit. So I haven't decided yet. I think it would definitely fit like a 50-gram cake in it, but it won't fit 100 grams in at the moment. But I have crocheted something and using scraps, so at least it will be usable in some way. Yes, I am going to wear the hat for the rest of the episode today. So let's have a look at works in progress. There's a lot of similar things which we will talk about. I'm getting the bag out. This is my Black Pearl Magic bag that I got from Botanical Yarn. And this holds my ongoing project that's got a lot of ends to weave in, which is this. Can't see it very well because it's curled up on itself. This is the Aurora Cabin Shawl by Stephen West. I have just finished section 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I've just finished section 4. There's quite a bit left to go. I'm about to go onto this cabled, this pattern here is going to be repeated underneath down here. I haven't worked on this for a little while, but I feel like, again, I've made a poor yarn choice. That actually some of this yarn that is from Knit Picks, it's Knit Picks palette, 4 of the colours. On the website it said it was good for colour work and Fair Isle, and I think what it means is in a jumper, because this yarn feels very rustic, and I can tell that it's probably going to felt if not washed carefully. So actually that would be good for floats in a jumper, but perhaps not so much for a shawl. It feels very dense, so I think that once it's finished and it's blocked, it's going to need a lot of stretching. I can feel that there's give in it and it will stretch, but I'm just going to have to be really careful. This section here was quite mindless in a good way. This bit, it was just kind of rigid. I think it was the garter ridges it was called. And like I say, I'm going to have to go back onto this cabled slip stitch section, which I've been putting off, but I think I'm going to sit and have a really good session on it once I've filmed this video. This probably isn't going to be one, once it's finished I think it's going to be too mild to wear, but it is something that I don't want to just linger. I do want to get this finished, but I really like the colours together. It looks good, looks really nice on camera actually. But I'm ready. I've got 2 yarn balls attached. I've lost one. No, I haven't. 2 yarn balls attached that are looking quite small now, but there are extra ones in my bag. So that one is on its way. The last few projects that I'm going to show were not in the WIP parade. They are all socks. So earlier in February, I decided I was going to cast on some of my coffee club yarn that I bought from Vida Lifestyle via Twin Stitches when she had a yarn shop, using the pattern. This is cinnamon chai latte. I love a chai latte from Starbucks. So this is the first sock. Now I had loads of issues with this because I did a German twisted cast on for the very first time. This is knit with fingering weight sock yarn held double. So I started with the size large. It was too big, so I went down to a medium, wouldn't go over my ankle. So I went for kind of the compromise option, and it still doesn't fit great. So I knit the leg, I knit the heel. It's got this cable texture pattern on the front, and I sat down. I'd got to basically where this red marker is, sat down, tried it on, and actually for my taste this pattern was stretching out so much that I didn't really like the look of it. So I've now knit this to the size for my partner. So I have knit one of them completely in his size. He's looking forward to wearing them. They are very squishy because it's essentially a double knitting, a DK weight sock. I've got my cute little hot cross bun stitch marker. But I've got one of those socks and I need to do the second sock. Then I have another sock. This was from this is just my basic sock pattern that I knit using this really beautiful set from Beehive Yarns. I decided to put in 2 stripes of pink. If it'll focus. Yep, 2 stripes of pink with the contrast heel and then toe as well. This is for me. I've done a 3x1 ribbing here. And I did a bit of an experiment with this one because this yarn is an 80/20, and I found when I use an 80/20 yarn it makes my socks come out too big. So I've reduced the stitch count on this and I've done a lot of trying on along the way. So once it's blocked, I'm hoping that this will actually be a really good fit. The only complaint I have about this particular yarn is that it was an absolute pain to wind. It was so knotty. The skein had only got 1 yarn tie all around it. So even though I stretched it out, made sure it wasn't overlapping, there were so many bits that were overlapping so it wouldn't go round the Swift properly, and the same with the mini as well. So it really did put me off from buying any more sock sets from this dyer if there's only going to be one tie around the yarn when you wind it, but it is really lovely. So that's another sock. Then got to go diving. Guess what? It's another sock. So this one is knit from, the pink is West Yorkshire Spinners, and the like sprinkly funfetti is a Regia yarn. This one I just knit using my usual numbers, but this one, what I did differently is that I did it on 9-inch circular needles, which really did take some getting used to, but by the end I felt like I was getting better at it. So I've got the second sock to do on this one as well. It's very similar to this cardigan actually, the yarn, but yeah, so another first sock of a pair. Over out of shop, which is something I haven't worked on recently, is my Sweetheart socks. These are my Sweetheart socks that I haven't done any work on since the Whip Parade video, but I have knit the leg of the first sock and I need to do the heel and the rest of the foot. So let's have a knit along. I was thinking that maybe I need to finish this and then let's make March a second sock month. So I'm thinking hashtag Mad March Pairs. And if you've got any lingering socks, any socks that or just need a toe, or you need to do the whole second sock, let's have a month of knitting second socks. So I've got 4 second socks to do, which feels very ambitious, but let's build each other up, let's egg each other on, let's try and make our second socks. Let's have lots of pairs of beautiful socks to wear in the spring with trainers so people can see them, and let's have a second sock month. I'm thinking that if you want to tag me and hashtag Mad March Pairs on Instagram, posts, stories, reels, whatever you want to post me in, and then we can have an update at the end of March and see how many posts how many socks, not how many posts we can make, how many socks we can make during March. So my target is to finish my 4 socks. I've got to cast on and finish 4 socks. This is going to be ambitious, but let's have a go. Let's see how many second socks, how many socks can we knit in March. I don't mind what weight they are. There's not really, it's not a competition, no rules. There can be any weight of sock, any length of sock, shorties, trainer socks, trainer liners, anything. I'm not fussy, but let's finish all of those lingering socks that we've got. Let's crack on, let's do it. So hashtag Mad March Pairs, and it will just be good to clear some needles ready for spring. So my March plans obviously are going to be mostly Mad March Pairs, finishing those second socks. If I have chance, I am going to be working on my Aurora cabin shawl. I really want to start my Alpenglow. I've done so many swatches for it. I bought the yarn, most of the yarn at Yarndale last year. I've swatched. I'm struggling to get row gauge. I've got stitch gauge, but I'm really struggling to meet row gauge. So if anybody's got any suggestions of how can I improve my row gauge, I'm currently getting around 32 rows across 4 inches or 10 centimetres, and the pattern says I need to have something like 38. I've tried going up needle sizes, going down needle sizes, I've tried changing needle material, and I'm still getting around 32 or 31 rows. If anybody's got any other suggestions, please don't tell me to knit continental, because I am a baby beginner with continental knitting. I really don't fancy knitting a whole jumper continental style yet. But if anybody knows how can I improve my row gauge to match Andrew Mowry's, please leave me a comment or send me a message on Instagram at Lorna is Cottoning On. But realistically, I am still going to be working on socks, and my shawl in March. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be joining in on our March sock knit along, or what else that you've been knitting on at the moment. This is basically a purely knitting update today, because I haven't done any dressmaking. All of my whips in the whip parade are still whips, but you know, that's just what I have been working on. We go through phases, don't we? Seasons of sewing, seasons of knitting, seasons of crochet. So I will be back in a couple of weeks with an update on how I'm getting on with all of my socks, and I will see you then. Bye.